Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining me here, as always. What we've got today is a really, really interesting and a very good general overarching question that comes up in the context of our study and practice of A Course in Miracles. And it's true of all spirituality, in fact. It comes up today in the context of chapter 20, section 3 of the text of A Course in Miracles, which is the section that we're going through. And the overarching question, which you may have asked yourself, and if not, you may know people that have asked this, is why aren't more people noticing my deep inner work? Hmm. Right? Why aren't more people paying attention to the fact that I'm forgiving the world? Why aren't more people acknowledging and noticing me and giving me credit for forgiving them? Hmm, I want some credit for that. I want some street cred. I want some acknowledgement. I want a little love. Great question, in fact. Comes up all the time. So the context here in the text is in chapter 20, again, section 3, which is entitled Sin as an Adjustment. The question that Jesus asks us is, do we like what we've made? Do you like when you look at the world what you have made? Because you made it up. That, quite naturally, is not the most flattering statement. It's very direct. It may hit you as blunt. It may look gentle or not at all to you. However it lands, it lands. We all made this up. No, it's not flattering to the ego. The ego loves to be flattered. We made this up. So do you like what you've made? I mean, yes, there are beautiful, hot, sexy moments. Of course, there are. There are. Yet they don't last. And while we think we're this, there's suffering to be had, and lots of it. Acknowledging this is very important. And deep down, we have all, in fact, acknowledged this. That's why we're on the spiritual path to begin with, and much less A Course in Miracles, because we all know there are lots of spiritual paths. There are lots of modalities. There are lots of practices and traditions from the traditional world religions on down to everything else that people made up last week because they could, and anything in between. There are many doors. This is but one of them, but, well, you've opened it. Welcome. We mean that laughter in a good way. I mean, look out at all of this. Has it made you happy? Do you like what you've made? And should you honestly answer, well, no. Exactly. You've answered that, at least on a subconscious level, in order to get here in the first place, in order to find yourself on this thing, this collection of practices and readings and prayers and stuff that we refer to as the spiritual path. So let's not make our brother, other people, adjust to our insanity. This course is not about adjusting the dream. It's not about making the dream more palatable, more tropical, more Mediterranean, warmer, tastier, hotter. It's not about any of that, which is why you do not see A Course in Miracles talking about manifesting more money or a hot, sexy new partner or a hot, sexy new car, which of course loses a significant portion of its value the instant it's driven off the lot, which we conveniently forget about. I mean, just for example, this course talks about changing our mind. Remember, we made this. Mind is the cause. The physical body is an effect. The world that appears to be outside us is an effect. Mind is the cause. Change your mind. What happens to the effect? However, this course is not about the effect. It's about the changes that take place in our mind as we switch from the thought system of the ego, separation, to the thought system of the Holy Spirit. In other words, as we take the Holy Spirit as our teacher and forgive, 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 and forgive, forgive, and rinse, repeat, we begin to lighten our mind. When that happens, it's very powerful. And if you've not yet experienced that, should you choose, and it's 100% your adult choice, should you choose to keep going, to keep forgiving, you'll begin to notice that whereas you used to become irate at certain things, or they used to annoy you, they may no longer even register. What once drove you into a fit of rage may now just be completely insubstantial and not affect you at all. Mm. These are really, really good experiences to have on the path because they show us that this is working. So we're all invited to keep going. What's been going on for all of us is we've just been making the wrong choice. That's all, a mistaken choice, not a sin. There is no sin. God has no ego to be offended. If you ever thought when you were growing up as a kid in Sunday school, if that's what your background is, I don't, I'm a sinner. What? Hmm? Wait, I thought God was love. Sinner? Punishment? Guilt, blame, death? I mean, if you ever thought that way, I certainly thought that way. And I know many of you can relate. It's why you're studying this course for many people. Yeah, God has no ego to be offended. There's only perfect oneness. You're not a sinner. So if you ever wanted confirmation of that, there you are. This course provides it in many places. So take that however it lands for you. We've been asking the wrong guide. We've been asking the ego the fundamental question, what am I? We've been asking the ego to give us the answer to what we are. We have a choice right now in the present moment to ask a different guide, the Holy Spirit. Very different answer because the ego is going to tell you, well, your job title. You're a sales professional. You're a CEO. You're this, you're that, you're whatever. you do for work, that's you. Your reputation is you. You're a man, you're a woman, you're whoever you are professionally, you're wherever you live, you're whatever political party or group you're affiliated with, if any. You're this, you're that, you're a label, you're an individual self sustaining survival unit, a human being. Yeah, an individual, separate, 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 separate human being. Your brother's separate from you and he's going to get your stuff. Better stop him. That's what the ego says. And we, in fact, need the drama, the dramatic presentation, don't we? Because it's so habitual that we just slide right back into it at a moment's notice. And the more we catch ourselves, the better. And we can all catch ourselves sliding back into judgment. If you ask the ego what you are, it'll tell you you're all of that stuff, all the labels that we put on ourselves in this world. And above all, you're a body, a frail human body. Ask the Holy Spirit instead. You will get a vastly different answer. And you're invited to, in your own mind, select which you want to follow. Let me ask you, which is more likely to be true? The judgment of the Holy Spirit or the ego's judgment? We all have a choice as to which we follow. So let's come back to this overarching question of why aren't more people noticing? Because I want some kudos for this. I want some credit. I want people to love me. Well, a couple of things on that. This course is done in the mind. It's not about making changes to our bank account, though that may very well happen. Maybe it will. It's not the point. It's not about having a slimmer, more toned, more attractive physique to the people that you want to attract to you. It's not about that. May that happen? Well, it might. It's possible, sure. I mean, you may end up with more friends as a result of your true forgiveness. You may end up more attractive to people as a result of true forgiveness. You may end up richer with a cool car if that does it for you, with fancy, expensive clothes if that's what does it for you. Whatever. It's not the point. The point is changing our mind. That's the point. That's how we awaken in the mind. That's where the work is. That's why this is a course in mind training and not what the popular spiritual world out there calls manifestation. It's not about that. So that's why you don't see it mentioned here. I mean, if that's something that you're into, great. There are plenty of opportunities to do just that. But people often ask me, what does the course say about it? Nothing. And that's why. Now, as to the question of why aren't more people noticing me? Well, first of all, we do this in the mind. People don't have to know you're doing it, for starters. If you're forgiving, let's say, somebody that has done you a lot of harm, and you really don't feel like texting them or calling them up, you don't have to. Just do it in the mind. This is what I did with my own mother in this lifetime, which has still to this date been my largest forgiveness opportunity. Yes, there's quite a story behind that. That's the subject for a completely new talk unto itself. But perhaps you have just such a large forgiveness lesson that you're working on or that you've learned. Yeah. People don't have to know that you're doing it. So here's why we really do it. It's not for the credit and the love that people may give you. The motivation for doing it, in order for us to really be effective at it and to want to keep doing it, can't be the applause of other people. That may or may not happen. What's important is that you change your mind. What's important is that you become more loving. So if you're forgiving somebody and they don't pay any attention to you and their behavior that you're maybe not completely aligned with, that's putting it mildly. Yeah, maybe they're behaving badly. They may still continue to do that. Keep forgiving. The forgiveness is for you. It's for our mind. It's not about whether someone notices you. It's not about whether they're paying attention or whether they acknowledge you on social media saying, wow, thank you for forgiving me the other day. It's not about that. So we learn to just let that go. Chapter 20, Section 3, Paragraph 9 leads with a very, very interesting visual and a very true visual that speaks right to this question is that when you share the Holy Spirit with people, when you forgive them, you cannot expect them to just automatically adore you. Really, you can't. Jesus uses the image of prisoners bound and chained in the darkness. When you set them free and shine the light of day on them, they need a little while to adjust to the light. You cannot expect them to go racing out into the bright sunlight right away just because you've forgiven them, just because you heard a talking screen image like this say, there is no world. You're perfectly at home in God where you've always been. Who, what, and where are you, Son of God? The thought of God. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Who, what, where are you? As the Son of God, the creation of God. I think you know that. Hmm? We all do, deep down. And we don't have to acknowledge it. Fine, no problem. Just sharing this with people is fantastic. That's what we do. We share the Holy Spirit, we forgive, we extend love, but don't expect them to want to throw a party in your honor. They'll need time to adjust to the light, as in the image of the prisoners bound and chained for years. They don't just leap up with joy when they're set free and the light shines in. They need time to adjust to it in this image. And same, don't expect people to beat down your doors with rapt popularity just because you've become a student of A Course in Miracles. People may think you're nuts. I mean, you'll notice the popularity in the spiritual arena of certain other traditions that don't say there is no world. I mean, there are lots of them out there. Now, that doesn't make any of them bad. It doesn't make them hideous or ridiculous. All roads lead to the same place. They all lead to God in the end because there's no place else. God is the only reality. This course comes right out and says that. Welcome. So, as you share love with people, they may be stunned and surprised. They may not know, but don't expect them to come beating down your door with rapt gratitude and bearing gifts just because you're doing this work. It's internal work. Now, what may happen? Well, the more forgiving you become, and let's all think about it, and it's entirely possible to extrapolate, isn't it? I mean, what's more likely as you become more loving and show up as more loving, people are going to respond to you differently. But it can't be about wanting to get gratification. I mean, frankly, I'm surprised sometimes at how many people are, in fact, interested in A Course in Miracles. Sometimes I think, okay, well, yeah, it's got a nice title and, well, it works. There's that really well, as you may know. However, I mean, it's very honest. You're not a body. There is no world. So, for people that want to believe that they're a body and that this world is concrete, fixed, and lasting, well, I mean, if people want to believe it, great. So be it. Forgive them. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, but you can too. So it's a common question that comes up, and it's worth spending a few minutes sometimes on, because as students of this course, we can in fact get carried away by that, by thinking, oh man, you know, why aren't more people interested in this? Well, that's why. I mean, we've just shared over the last few minutes many reasons why people aren't more interested in this, and don't expect them to come beating down your door. However, you're interested in it, and that is what really, really matters. Is you've been listening to the call of the Holy Spirit. So for that, we all thank you. And I do mean we all, every living thing. You don't think it matters? Think again. It's huge. So thank you. I mean, you're interested in this. In fact, you're still watching this video, which has droned on for 20 some odd minutes, as frequently happens. But by this point, something has landed. It's the Holy Spirit speaking to you. So we're invited to continue. And whether somebody gives us praise and adulation or not, yeah, that's not the point. The point is awakening. The point is sharing the Holy Spirit with your brother. The point is sharing the love of God with your brother. Share, share, share. And you know what happens when you do? You keep it in your mind. So thank you, as always, for joining me. Questions, specific questions, are most welcome here. There is a comment thread right here on YouTube that I check frequently. So if you have a comment or a question, please feel welcome to leave that right here. And if you just want to pop in and say hello, that's perfectly welcome as well. I'd love to hear from you. If you have not yet subscribed, the prompt is here in the corner of your screen. Just go ahead and click that, and you'll be invited to subscribe and join us. And several videos appear each week right here. So thank you, as always, for tuning in, and I will speak to you again very soon.